From writing on rock tablets thousands of years ago, all the way to modern databases that are being powered by great technologies like AI, humans like to keep stuff written down in documents. What happens when those documents need to be read? With things like intelligent document processing technologies that will read through documents in order to extract high-quality information from them. What about the AI that's used to do that? How can we make sure that those technologies are being compliant with data protection regulations like GDPR or the AI Act that will be coming up quite soon in Europe? All these things make us wonder, can the regulatory aspect of the industry keep up with the very fast pace of the technologies that are available to end users to consume and use to reach their business goals? These are big questions. That's why Sylvain and I, in the Data Defenders Forum, got a chance to speak to Jonathan Grandperrin. Jonathan is the CEO and co-founder of Mindy, which is a company originally formed in France, is now in different countries, and they are highly specialized in this area of computer vision, deep learning, all of which revolves around getting into the nitty-gritty details that can be found in documents. Let's take a look at what Jonathan had to say. I'm sure you're going to get a lot from this episode. So hi, everybody. Welcome to the Data Defenders Forum. This is episode number 7. Very excited to be looking at an area that we haven't explored so much on computer vision on the AI side. We're joined today by Jonathan Grandperrin, who's the CEO and co-founder of Mindy. And that being said, Jonathan, we just want to start out to get to know you a little bit better. Can you just tell us about who you are, your background, and how you found yourself working in this area in the first place?
Yeah, sure. Hi, Bart. Jonathan Grandperrin. I'm a French engineering background, mainly computer vision, data science, and I was CTO in 2 startups in France before launching Mindy, and I started working on Mindy in 2018. Wanted to apply basically computer vision and deep learning with the latest breakthrough that were happening at this moment to the business world, and document processing and document understanding was definitely the best way to go for us. So that's how we came up with the idea of Mindy, and yeah.
Now, if you had to choose one historical figure that you would trust with your personal data, we can take it further in your specific case, your documents, who would it be and why?
A good question. I think it will be either maybe John Nash or Alan Turing. No, I would go for Alan Turing actually. Yeah, my documents will be pretty safe.
Any particular reason why him over John Nash?
I don't know them obviously, but not very well. I mean, I feel like he has done more breakthrough in crypto and crypto in general. So I don't know. A gut feeling.
No, it's gut feeling. All right, it's good. Trust your instincts. Before we jump into the security and compliance side of things, for people that are out there that may not be familiar with document processing as it is today, but also the evolution, how we got to the point that we're at right now, can you just walk us through that historically speaking, so we can get a bit of context?
Yeah, that's a huge topic. So first, before talking about processing documents, maybe we should define and talk about documents themselves. Today, there are many types of documents, but at the beginning, the very beginning, I think the first one that was retrieved is kind of a couple of thousand years old. It was just a piece of rock where people were sharing information on that. So that's why basically is a document. It's a kind of a human API. It's a way to have a record that is holding information that is understandable by someone else. That's what is a document. Information on something. So obviously paper came in. At first there was the era where everything was printed, handwritten first. Then with the printing, we had printed text on papers. Then we had the digital era, maybe, where we were able to scan documents or to create digital native documents. And now most of this information has to be processed or stored in databases and in the cloud. So it came from, I think, rock to databases in the end. And when it comes to processing those documents, I think there were two or three maybe different phases. First one, processing would just mean be able to um, to store, to just not analyze, but just to store, to scan them, to have the record in a digital format. So I think it was between, I don't know, maybe the 60s to 80s, 90s, and obviously still today. Processing documents also mean being able to either edit or extract information from those documents. So with the cloud, with Dropbox, Google Drive, all the signing companies like DocuSign, etc., there were a lot of possibilities in the document processing space. And more recently, thanks to GPT, thanks to computer vision, thanks to the OCR technologies that were created, we are also able to extract text from non-digital documents like papers or scans. So it kind of evolved from paper to digitization of documents to being able to edit and create document digitally, then OCR to be able to transform text from photos of images into machine readable text. And now it's more about understanding completely documents as a human can do. And I think that's where we are today, trying to transform this human layout, human API, the documents into structured data so that it can be used in software, it can be used automatically in workflows.
Great, thanks, Jonathan. So yeah, this amount of information that's being processed is huge, and today we have more and more regulation coming up. So can you give us a few examples on how IDP technology can help companies, not just tech companies, but any company, any industry, to stay in compliance with regulation, local regulations that they have to comply to?
Yeah, I would say that the first one is having access to the text and to the information inside documents is very important for compliance. If you are handling documents that contains PII, for example, you need to be aware of that, and you need to make sure that you are able to retrieve, know that you have PII, and if you need, delete them, for example. So making sure you stay compliant with the policies you have with your customers, the third parties you are using, being able to extract this information to make sure that you know where it is very important. Without any document processing or document data extraction solution, it's just a PDF that is kind of here, but you don't know what's inside, and that can be complicated for some cases. I would say that's the most important part of how document processing and document understanding can help in the compliance.
So it's really about knowing, like, you have data, but knowing what this data is about. So it's not much, as you say, as the extraction of the data, but really the understanding of the
Yeah,
data.
yeah.
Okay. Is there any other example that you have that comes to your mind where IDP can help companies?
It's okay. So I think it's around this idea of being able to know what's inside this data, but it may be used for different use cases in compliance. Data availability, the right to access and erasure in the GDPR, making sure that you know where this data is, because otherwise you are not able to erase it. So I think there are many different use cases depending on the industries, the geographies, but basically is everything is around making this data accessible to people so that they can apply the compliance fully, even on those documents.
A lot of GDPR really, I would say, really kickstart in a big way. I mean, data compliance law have been brewing for a while now, but GDPR was really the inflection point. Uh, but it's also coming to the US. Last week, a bill was proposed, a bipartisan bill was proposed for APRA, which would be the equivalent of the GDPR. So such drastic laws are also coming to the US. And so it's not, I feel today like, of course, US company who operate in Europe have to comply, but this is coming to the US and it's going to become an increasingly important topic. As I was preparing this episode, I also found a quite interesting point. I was reading the Verizon data breach investigation that they've been running, I think, every year since 2008. So it's quite interesting to look at trends. And it turns out that misdelivery error, so when information is sent to the wrong recipient, is a huge issue. For some of the industry, it's actually among the top sources of data leaks. They mentioned the art and entertainment industry, financial and insurance industry, and the public administration industry. And so this has huge implication. And obviously here having an OCR not relying on human just doing typos can also avoid a lot of headaches. How about, so we spoke about compliance and security are tightly linked, but is there any specificity around security that you can share with us?
Basically, when you choose a document processing technology, either is going to be something that runs locally, and in that case, you just need to make sure that nothing goes out, and you're good if all the security layers that you have in your software or in your environment are already there. If you are using a third party where you send your documents to, and they are processed using an API, for example, or whatever, but in the cloud, it's kind of the same type of security checks that you need to do as any other service that you would use where you send personal information or crucial information. As I was saying before, documents is just the medium, but it's information that's inside. That's just the same thing. You can have a web form on the website, collect information from your users. It's going to be transferred to your server. If you use this information to send that in another service, it's the same as sending a document with personal information. That's what I mean. So when choosing a solution, I will make sure that, of course, it's encrypted. The TLS is used, so that there are security layers that are used in the protocol for transferring the documents and the files. That's the minimum level that you can, of course, ask for this kind of service. And otherwise, depending on the geography, in France, I would try to make sure that GDPR compliance is at top of mind of the provider. That's very important. In the US, I will go with a SOC 2 Type 2 type compliance for making sure that they have all the processes to handle the data well. But otherwise, I don't think there are much more to think about than just those two kind of checks. The same you will do when choosing a payment solution or something that's just process personal information.
And with that in mind, a lot of times, there might be the solution that's developed by a company, but then based on the feedback that they're getting from end users, they might pivot or be thinking about new features. In your case, could you give us an example of a customer that had compliance as a key topic on their list of criteria, and what was it that they were looking for?
Yeah, obviously, we have a lot. Payfit is a good example, I think. They are in France. They are operating in France and in Europe, so they had these GDPR compliance requirements when choosing a solution. So they kind of audited us, trying to make sure that we had the processes and we were able to process the data the way we were saying we would process them. So they asked us a lot of questions regarding how can we delete the data once it's processed to make sure that we don't store anything. They were kind of asking all the questions regarding making sure that we have all of that in mind and we don't store data if we don't have to, and that we describe very well the way we would use the data if we had to store some for training purposes or this kind of usage. So yeah, it was one of the main criteria for this deciding what provider to choose for them. So performances of the solution, of course, but also as importantly, data compliance and compliance, security compliance.
And one of the things that we were talking about previously with GDPR is that someone explained to us recently about how, nowadays every company wants to be a data-driven company. It's really hot and exciting to say that, but what does that really mean, and what are the implications from a security, from a compliance perspective? In the case of what this person was bringing up is how A lot of companies may not even be aware of the kind of data that they're collecting, and based on that, the responsibilities that will be related to that. In the document space, anything can be put on a document. So we can be talking about healthcare records, we can be talking about financial records, we can be talking about things that are very, very sensitive and can be used against somebody in terms of invading their privacy. What is your advice for people that are out there when it comes to this in terms of how we're addressing companies more broadly? That like I said, that every company now, it doesn't matter if it's, famously someone said, 10 years ago, like Coca-Cola nowadays is a tech company, but it seems like now, in 2024, every company is having some kind of data that they're having access to. How is that something that you're addressing in Mindy? And do you get questions about this kind of stuff from your customers?
It depends a lot on the industry and the use cases and the type of customers you're talking about, of course. Um, First, because there are different levels of certification and compliance that you need to fit in. If you are talking about healthcare, it's very different if you are talking than if you are talking about Coca-Cola and their, I don't know, all the data they have for their providers or for their logistics. It depends a lot. I would say that today the document processing space and the IDP is very trendy since a couple of years, and it's very easy to find solutions for end users companies that provide you with a kind of a tailored service for you for exactly your use cases or your industry. So benchmarking solutions to make sure that you have a clear use case in mind is very important. Otherwise, you can get completely overwhelmed by everything you could do or you could not do on the documents. There is not one size fits all document solution that will make sure you stay compliant, you know all the data you have in all your documentation and all your infrastructure. I think that's not possible today. But what's possible though is to have very specific use cases, either if it's for, I don't know, your operations efficiency, making sure that you can process the documents well and nothing gets out of your environment, your ecosystem, and you know exactly what you are processing. Can be in the pure understanding if you have batches of data with a lot of data from your customers, document management system that can help you retrieve, classify the documents, and make sure that it's stored in a more intelligent way than in the past, a drive with 1 million documents inside. So that's a wide topic without any use case clearly in mind, but I'm not able to tell you what will be that. But what I can say is that today there are a lot of use case focused solution for a lot of different industries, a lot of different use cases in general that can help you achieve exactly what you want. So benchmarking, making sure you define your problem well, and you will find a solution in the IDP space.
That's helpful. And I think, it's interesting because, GDPR came out, we're in 2024. So we're talking about over half a decade now of GDPR being, on our minds and being on the radar. The next thing that we have coming up from a European perspective, is the AI Act. But whether it's GDPR or, data protection or AI, the constant challenge of, can governments and regulatory agencies keep up with the speed at which technology is moving? Being a company that's, originally from France, but also working in the United States, having a global focus, I imagine that you're getting some questions, or at least we're seeing in the news, is it hype? Is it fear? Or what are the concerns people should be having? In terms of the conversations that you're having, what kind of questions are coming up frequently about AI and where we can expect this to be going in from a regulatory perspective, about concrete instances in which technology such as deep learning may be impacted by regulations? Is there anything, and maybe it's a little bit early, but I just want to know, like, what are the conversations that you're having around that topic at this point?
Yeah, yeah, good question. I think the general fear around AI is the misconception of an AI is a system that learns from every input it has to process when you're running in production, when you're doing inferences. So I think the general fear is around, I don't want Bart, when you are going using GPT, I don't want you be able to retrieve data that I have personally inputted somewhere in GPT, in Facebook, in whatever. This kind of data understanding and sharing between peers, I think that's the real fear. If we stay in the business to B2B world, you said it, it's been a decade already. And in the US, they also have lots of different processes and certifications. So if you make sure that your data is kind of isolated, and there is no concerns about AI. It's a service that you use as you could use a web service for doing something else. You are not sharing the data with anyone else. That's written somewhere, either because you are SOC 2 compliant, GDPR, whatever. That's okay. But I would say that the main fear that maybe I had some signals on, even in the US or in France, is my data going to be used for training a solution that's going to benefit, or most like worst case scenario, you are going to share without even knowing it, data to someone else, because your AI is going to infer something that is kind of trained on my documents and extract this and just output it somewhere else. That will be the main concern. So as soon as you have a solution, or you build your solution, making sure that it's like by default completely private, isolated from the rest of your customer base, of your users, I think you're good. But yeah, that's what I think right now. We don't have that many questions in this space, because what we sell is web service. It's a solution that is really isolated in our infrastructure. So we make sure that we let our customers and prospects know that everything is safe when it comes to data protection with us, and nothing will be shared. So we don't have this kind of conversation most of the time.
Good. Yeah, like sharing with the audience. It's not just about your customer being in compliance, but it's also you, Mindy, as an entity to have all the process and technology in mind to make sure that by extension your customer remain compliant. So yeah, that communication is key in this case. I want to jump just a little bit out of the compliance topic. Our audience is made of founder, product owners, software engineers, and obviously we are all here to do business. So I just wanted to see if you had seen a customer gaining financially by using an IDP solution in a way that might not have been expected. Yeah, do you have a story around this?
Define not expected. They didn't know they
Well,
were going to save money using it.
exactly. Yeah, I think. Yeah, exactly. Right. Like I think that's the obvious. I mean, there are a few obvious things. I think automation and reducing manual labor is an obvious one. So I just wanted to know if there were like an edge case that they were not expecting, or that you've never seen before, that came up and you were like, huh, that's interesting.
Oh, no, you said it. I think document processing and document automation is related to operational efficiency, and that's the ROI you are expecting. So most of the time, I think you get it. You just win human time for processing the workflows because documents are involved. I don't have anything striking in mind that.
Yeah, maybe I can share what I had in mind. I think at the beginning of the episode, something very interesting you said is like it's not so much about the acquisition of the data, but it's about the processing, right? And as you said, like our ability, the technology ability to process more and more efficiently and accurately is giving you access to data that you didn't have before. And as Bart said, our economy is data driven. So the more data you have, therefore, the more potential gain and insight in your market and customer base you could gain. So, I think maybe you don't know also, because that's kind of like a very niche question your customer may not share with you. But my gut feeling is that some of the customer who started to use Mindy were like, oh, shoot, we have this data we didn't even know. And now we can extract value out of it.
Yeah, most of the time they have it in mind, but obviously documents, you can think about fraud detection, for example, like in the expense management space, making sure you don't reimburse fraud receipts or fraud expense reports. So that's a pure loss for the end users for the end customers in terms of cash. So you have many different use cases like that. what I meant was all of them are about saving money in the end, like operational efficiency, fraud detection, or even just being able to access this data so that you don't have any regulatory or compliance issue with your customers that can go further than that, like a lawsuit or something. So
Okay, before we stop the episode, Mindy just announced a new product, DocTI it's called. So Jonathan, can you tell us a little bit about it?
yeah, sure. So DocTI for document tailored intelligence. So basically, it's a solution that helps people design very efficiently, very easily document processing solution for their own documents, whatever it is. So you can, in just a few minutes, you can define what you want to retrieve, like what data points you want to extract from your documents, and deploy a web service that do that very accurately. So think about any type of document, I don't know, birth certificates, ID documents, whatever. So in our platform, we had many pre-built models that we have worked on since a couple of years. And now we have opened this kind of studio to anyone because we had a lot of demands in many different use cases that we were not able to uh, to put in our roadmap because we had maybe, I don't know, thousands of different types of documents that people were asking us for. So we thought it would be easier to provide them with the studio and with the capability of deploying that themselves instead of building everything ourselves and putting that in our catalog.
And I saw the. Do you believe this is like really kind of starting a new kind of category in the industry of like training less IDP? I think here the training less part is really the key, right?
We are using a bunch of different technologies. LLMs are involved in that, obviously, and that makes sure that you don't have to prepare to annotate the data to train everything yourself, which was the way to go a couple of years ago. So we expect to see, and we're already seeing, like since last month, a lot of usage. I think the number is almost 1K APIs were created for different types of document in 1 month. So that's pretty good for us. And we are definitely looking forward to seeing what people are building with it. Sometimes we had with Yu cards or Pokemon cards, for example, so that we had crazy stuff, very funny.
Did you get among you mentioned the history of document and you mentioned that there were stones document. Did DocTI analyze stone yet?
I should try that out too. I will do that right after the episode.
All right, amazing. Jonathan, thanks a lot for being on the Data Defender Forum. We'll make sure to stay up to date with your blog to see if you find any stone document. Thank you for listening in and see you soon. Bye bye.
Thank you.
Take care. Cheers.